Hey guys, welcome to another week of Youth Observations, and today we're going to be speaking about technology in Jamaica, the recent data security breach that we had, and the NIDS program. And today we have a group of young professionals, young individuals in university, and they're going to tell us what they think about these topics.
Hey, good morning. My name is Ashley Onfroy, history and archaeology student at the University of the West Indies, Mona.
Hi, I'm Saeed Bernard and I'm a Norman law student.
Javon Bailey, marketing major and a management studies minor.
Good morning everyone, my name is Daniel Mullings. I'm a software engineering major and film studies minor.
Hi, my name is Javante Webster. I am majoring in integrated marketing communication, minor in international relations.
Alright guys, so today we're taking a different turn than we did last week, and we're going to be talking about technology. We all realize that we're in the technological age and we're moving digitally forward. Companies are moving forward digitally. Schools are moving forward digitally. And we want to talk about the fact that while we are moving forward digitally, there are some concerns. For example, the security breach that happened the other day.
My concern with it is that some very simple, so to speak, mistakes were made with the data, right? For example, one of the cloud server wasn't authenticated or didn't have a password for you to enter it, basically, right? The information was just easily accessible on the internet. Now these are stuff that we're learning right now, or we learned from first year actually, but some of the stuff we're also learning right now. Like literally last week, one of the stuff the lecturer said to us was, when you're creating your website, ensure that you don't upload the file with the like password and such information so that anybody could access it, because the file will be there with the information, right? So when I'm looking at a company that is supposed to be esteemed, I would assume if the government is going to be using this company to be managing data so important as, including person's COVID-19 results and other information, like I would expect that the company would have a deeper understanding, I suppose, at least, or a deeper execution, a better execution of safety for data. There are lots of questions there coming up for me.
Especially the fact that you said something that you would have learned, you're learning now in university. So something as simple as that should have been thought about, or some back-end checking should have happened before. So Saeed, what are some of the, as a nation, what are some of the consequences that the government could face based on the fact that there was a security breach?
Well, I wish I was a lawyer now, because I would personally take a case to the Constitutional Court to see what redress is there. The government has what is called a duty of care to its citizens, especially with data breaches and all of that. And if it is that on a government website, especially with the new Data Protection Act that came about recently, there could be some damages awarded to some people, especially if you have proof that yes, your information was there, your information has been breached. You may be able to get some redress. That's my thinking. So that's one of the more serious consequences that I foresee from a legal point of view. But socially, well, it has set back the government twofolds with this NIDS idea.
I think that in agreement with Said, well, the legal aspects are important, but we have to look at the social aspects. Social aspects are extremely they're important, and especially like now in a time where people were angry. You get me? They're mischievous, people are upset. You get me? People want to know what the government is doing regarding other factors. So when this bomb does drop right now, in this time, it kind of breeds more hostility against the government. You get me? Now people are more suspicious. I know that the NIDS law is the NIDS bill is on the table. Now that people are like, okay, so if you can't protect something simple as that, then how can we trust it to protect our information if stuff like that?
Yeah, that definitely validates their concerns about the security of their data for certain. I mean, before now, persons could say, well, depending on the circles that you're in, that your fear of security breaches and the leaking of your information was slightly irrational. But definitely now, we can't say that. The persons are saying, they're fearful of this new NIDS bill and they don't want it to be passed, so they don't want to have any part of it, and they're basically very eager to hear what it is that the government is going to come with to counter what just happened and to secure the data and the digital information of the nation's citizens going forward.
Like a breach can happen, right? Because we're in the technological age and there are going to be hackers, right? But a huge part of it also is what is the response? Like how do you deal with it and manage it? I don't think enough information was given at the outset, like we're going for days. I remember tweeting and saying, yo, this needs a statement as soon as possible because this is big. You cannot have people's data just out there.
I mean, what was even more telling for me, and going back to what Ashley said, before, like, for example, I was one of the persons that were like, hey, I'm not liking this because I know the model that they're following is from Estonia. I know how Estonia's system is set up. Jamaica doesn't have half of that system in the first place. And I mean, we've seen how the country moves when it comes to our online websites and all of that. So I was very, what you'd call frantic, anxious about having data in a centralized location, and it was brushed apart by a lot of people. A lot of people brushed people with that view apart to say, you probably just, skeptic and all of that, and and it has now made that a reality. And so the government didn't only have to think about legislative things to put in place to reassure the people, because that's done. It has now created a whole other problem. And then what has compounded that problem is the lack of response from the government. And so I even said it, like, we don't live in a perfect world, so breaches will happen.
Yeah.
But one, the simplicity of the breach that happened is very telling, one. And two, the response from the government seems as if, okay, we're a defeated foe, they hacked us and we don't know what to do next. You get me?
I think before, one of the things that we have to take into consideration is the verification process. Because if one person can have complete control to actually send out such information, that's an issue. Yeah. So who has access to the data and what safeguards are there to prevent such data from going out? Because I know some organizations, they need 2-3 keys to open a file.
An authorization from senior person
in the organization based on the complexity or the nature of documents. So if you're going to send out something or you want to even transfer it from one area to the next, you should have a password that you enter along with 2 other persons. That ensures that when the information is going out, the information is checked. So where is it going? I checked it first and I enter that. And the next person needs to also do that check to ensure that it's going to the next place. And then another person is there. So that has some
two-factor authentication.
Two-factor authentication to ensure that the data that you're sending around is going to the right person and is not being wide open to the public. Because as you said, that can have major implications for the persons in society and the government.
Question, most of you have answered already, but I just want your thoughts on the whole NIDS, and are you in agreement, are you in disagreement?
So when I first heard of NIDS, I thought, wow, this is an amazing idea. I mean, I know that it's the model that several countries across the globe, and I mean, even in our little CARICOM region here, are thinking of doing. I said, wow, it's a great step forward for Jamaica, but then I stepped back and I said, wait, this is Jamaica. So let us think about, all the things that could go wrong and all the things that could go right. So
pros and cons.
Right. In theory, it's amazing. It's excellent. It will definitely make business and registration and general just transactions throughout the nation quite simple and easier. However, there are a lot of things that need to be put in place before we can even think about making that a reality. I mean, for one, we've been discussing data protection and security. We also need to have, and I'm pretty sure Daniel wants to touch on it, digital literacy being something that is pushed, even more so than how it is pushed now, not just for us as a people, so that we can be sensitized as to the importance of having, methods in place to protect our data and understanding the whole internet space better. But even as those in administration, the government and other entities, there needs to be some educational process going on there as well. So in theory, it's great. But we have a lot to do before we can actually implement that.
I agree with Ashley. The thing is that, as we can see now, most of our business and government facilities have your records in 4, 5, 6 different locations. So your fingerprint probably is at the electoral office or another place where your fingerprint was taken. And the police, if you have had a record, would have had your fingerprint. So I think the needs and the central database creates a central area and disperses that paper trail that's everywhere. So if you have an updated record at the electoral office, your bank may not have that updated information. Your loan agency may not have that information. So in theory, as she said, a central database to house all that data and give the different entities in the government access and restriction to some and some private sectors. So they'll have some access and some restriction to some of your information. That's good in theory. That's actually beneficial, I would say. But the idea of security of information, even we mentioned the breach, is the major thing that we have to take into consideration. So I think the infrastructure needs to be there, the technological advances need to be there to manage and put these safeguards in place, as I mentioned earlier, to ensure that the data is not accessed by the wrong individuals. And also, who has the overall key? Who has the overall key that can access all the information in this database?
And accountability for that person.
And accountability. Will it be the government? Because if it's the government, who is the person that will go again, if there's a breach, go forward and sue the government themselves for this major data breach?
Because then if the government is in charge and something should happen, then they have to take action against themselves, is what you're saying.
Or someone will have to lead the charge.
It's like wearing Clarks in the rain. You know, like nobody does that. At the end of the day,
That's a weird analogy, but okay.
No, because Clarks is seen as an expensive, top of the line shoe. Nobody wears it in the rain because it will get damaged. Saying that to say, any good thing that you have, if it's not, being fortified in the right
Or
environment,
properly protected.
right, then it ultimately
Will become
becomes
damaged.
counterproductive, and you lose more than you gain, which is a diminishing return. And that is what the government, needs to be aware of. And it goes even further. It's theoretically nice, as the others have said, but at the end of the day, the actuality of the system playing out in the day-to-day life of citizens, it seems more of a burden and more of anxiety and thinking whether or not this is actually safe and good, especially with the advent of scamming being the
Jamaica's forefront.
one of the top 2 occupations in the country at this point.
And then
you
have other sociocultural things that you need to contend with too. I mean, we have our own personal biases and traditions. For example, a lot of persons, I'm just gonna say it because a lot of persons are thinking it,
beat around the bush.
right, let's not beat around the
Mark of the
bush. A lot
beast.
of persons who are of a particular religious belief may say, this is the beginning of something, the apocalypse, the end of the world, and we have to
Mark
be
of the
very
beast.
right. We have to be very cognizant of that. As a people, we have deeply embedded beliefs, and there's nothing wrong with that because beliefs drive our passions and drive our innovation and so on. But for this to be really productive, we definitely have to have a public education campaign. We have to get persons up to par where technology is concerned, and basically just going in and talking to the layman about it.
Personally, I do agree with the theory of needs, as everybody has stated, because we have a lot of people in Jamaica who aren't even registered citizens.
Yeah.
So people who just have children just go about and that's it. You get a lot. People get men in prison, and that you don't hear about them ever again. You get me? Because no bail, no come, no court date, no. But they're not registered citizens, but they're just there. So essentially, I said the concept that is very good, but. And the social campaign is going good because I was one of the people helping, especially with Twitter, trying to push the whole guys read articles, whatever. But then because of the whole thing with Amber now, it does send it. They're not crash the right, crash the data. Jack crash it. So that kind of give a slap in the face now. Because that's alright. Then boom. If them can just go so my body can just go so up on him phone, laptop, is me and start and everything. What I'm doing, you get me? So.
It's interesting though, because I think it comes back fundamentally to the concept of trust. Because when we are traveling, and Jamaicans love travel, go US or wherever else, you gladly stand up in front of the machine and give your whole face print.
Keep my retina.
That's true. That's true.
You happily do that. But when our government asks for the same thing,
Yeah.
you have a hesitation, and that comes down, I think, to trust. So now this Amber Group situation, of course, is going to damage her even more. But my biggest concern with this is that it has set Jamaica as a target for hackers internationally. Because if they had such a simple breakdown like that, I said, the simplicity of the alleged error, right? The simplicity of it tells international hackers that Jamaica is a gold mine. We can easily
For
get into their data.
hacking. Which
Exactly.
leads me to the question I was about to ask, and I wanted to start with you, Daniel. What is the current state of Jamaica's technological security or data security?
Right now, I think the tech community is in its, I wouldn't say infancy, maybe a toddler. But it's growing essentially, and I'm seeing a lot of emerging tech talents that could more than have done this application properly. Just Gavin, full stop, Gavin Dennis, and you'll probably see him on Twitter talking about this. But he's a cybersecurity guru. There are many more just like him who have the talent, who have been schooled and educated in this, and if they had been consulted, we could have been in a much better state than where we are right now. So for me, when I see something like this, and we're even talking about it in some of our computing group chats, it just makes us look like, say, we're not in a sense in a tech really, but that's not true at all.
Alright, Saeed, do you think we have strong enough laws to protect the data of the citizens in Jamaica? Or if not, do you have any suggestions to strengthen those laws?
I'll answer it this way. I think it was Lord Reed from the House of Lords. He said that when Parliament makes laws, right, the laws are an umbrella to a system that exists. Saying that to illustrate that law is paper, law is black and white, the lawyers literally take up the law and read and they go to court and they argue it. It's abstract, it's not tangible, but it guides behavior. But at the end of the day, the law is only the law. The system is a whole different thing. So, I mean, legally speaking, we've now had the Data Protection Act, which, quite frankly, came off the advent of trying to push NIDS before even having a Data Protection Act. So we have that now. We have a strong cybersecurity law as well. So the laws are there. The laws are definitely there. But again, how law works is you need proof, you need evidence and all of that. And quite frankly speaking, based on what Daniel is telling me as it relates to, you can literally click a button and access the information because it wasn't authenticated or anything. I don't think that, it's really a strong breach of anything then, because really and truly, you're contributory negligent, right?
So it's not a breach, it's just there was no security.
In my view, I mean, at the end of the day, even if it's an open land and you go on it, it's still a breach. But the reality of it is, given the context, it's not like they put up a fence. So the person literally just walks on. I mean, you can't do...
I mean, you should know that you shouldn't walk on the open
exactly.
because it's not yours.
So it's still a breach.
But there was no security.
But at the end of the day, you're negligent in that you haven't fortified your base. So the laws are there, but the laws only work if it is that there's a system that gives the law the input to say, okay, we have all of this and yet still you did all of this. Yeah, man, we have to stop at 25 years upon you. You get me, so?
I think that this is, because I'm the type of person where, yes, we discussed all that went wrong, but I think this is also quite an excellent opportunity for us as a nation. There are lots of things that were brought out here. One, when Daniel mentioned, the average Jamaican's willingness to go and just give up everything about themselves when we're traveling, it stuck out to me as an overarching issue that we do have as a nation, unfortunately, and that's sort of like an inferiority complex. Because when you think about it, it's our own, as you said, mistrust and our own, disbelief in our own systems. Because if we can go and give these foreigners everything about
we
us,
don't ask them no question.
without asking questions.
Or maybe it's the goal, because everybody wants to travel. So alright, if I just have to do this one little thing for foreign,
that
then
too.
But we did tell them that it will ease, like, let's say, bank transactions or whatever other stuff the government was saying.
The thing is, we're not thinking ahead though. We're thinking of right now. I'm going abroad now, and all I have to do is do this to just go abroad. Yeah, but I'm not thinking about the line so long at the bank, and if I do this, then it will be easier for me at the bank, etc.
But that also goes back to what I was saying, because if we are forward thinking as youth or even as older persons in this nation, if we want to see our own little island progress and be that formidable power on the world stage, global stage, big bad Jamaica, we're full of chat. Right, exactly. Exactly. We would be, looking for ways and means as a people to, obviously all of us won't have the methodologies, because clearly, I'm a history student, I'm a social anthropology student. I'm not going to be able to speak on tech, and Daniel vice versa won't be able to speak on my things, but I feel like if collectively we came together and said, you know what, this happened, it was awful, but we learned these things and we can go forward with it, then, this is an excellent opportunity for the government, for us, but even other Caribbean countries looking on to say, oh, Jano, that reached Jamaica, alright, how can we fix this, and how can we also help Jamaica to fix this? So I think now it's a matter of having solutions going forward.
Alright, so this brings me to suggestions. How can we help to strengthen the data security in Jamaica? One, how can we help to strengthen the trust between the government and the citizens? And how can young people help, people in STEM, how can we help with improving our data intelligence?
I think first, this was what I was about to mention, as she said. She's a history student, Daniel, IT, I'm a marketing major, Saeed Law, and IMC. And the one thing that we share is that we have a level of understanding change management, I think, was not fully implemented for needs itself. Because for a change, there will be resistance to change, and everyone will be resistant to anything new and that they are not aware of. But if the government came to us and presented an idea and asked persons from different fields, what is your input? This is the way that we think, and we want to have a discussion around it. Then Daniel would say, well, we need a two-factor verification. I would say, who has access to the information? Side would mention the laws governing who has to be held accountable. So I think they need to manage how they implement change and manage how we move forward into a different era that people are not accustomed to. So change management is really what organizations use to ensure that any change or any activities that are new to their employees, new to their customers, they use to ensure for success. So I think that should have been one of the main driving principles behind it, and I personally didn't see it.
So I mean, they did invite persons to give feedback, right? Remember they had that
The
open
initial
house
stage.
sometime.
Right.
Because initially I was, and we said this last time we were speaking, in the last youth observations episode, we had spoken about, you know, the need to include the people in the response.
I agree.
And interestingly, on this occasion, they had that open call. Now I can't speak to how many people actually responded to it. But I do like the concept of saying, hey guys, what do you think, so that we can all kind of pull together something. But if they already tried that and that wasn't really getting a response, then what is that next level? I think overall what we need is more communication from the get-go. And here's the thing, you know, again, a crisis may happen, a crisis may occur, but it's how you respond to it. When they take so long to respond and give you an actual answer, everybody start, you know, get suspicious. You start getting all kind of different counter allegations and all sorts of stuff coming up, when you could just have a clear understanding from the get-go. So I think we need more like outright leadership, if you will. Like when a crisis comes, just step out in front and say, yo, XYZ happened, we own up to this, and this is how we're moving forward. Right now, this what we're doing right now, I just think we're doing this.
Yeah, we haven't heard much from the information, but as well as my suggestion, I'm a communications major, so in agreement with everybody. Alright, the problem is that we, the digital divide in Jamaica is killing us, you get me? Because if only at least 34% of us don't have access to internet and stuff. I realize that the social marketing campaign is mainly using social media, but when it comes to the communication, it takes multifaceted approach. So the same way how them coming to them on election time, beg vote, the same way them have artists that make songs for them, as I say, when election time. We want that type of energy, you get me? So we need that type of vibe when you're trying to implement something as massive as it is. Keep the same energy. You get me? So that's it. You know, use different methods. Go into the communities this time, actually meet with people, talk to people day to day. You get me? So kind of implement it in a sense whereby you're actually having conversations and not just asking them to read the article, because they won't.
And quickly, accountability. The Jamaican people want to know, okay, if this happens, who do we go to? What do we get back? You see me? So, yeah.
And in closing, so you guys spoke about a few things for suggestions. We spoke about change management of change, coming to the citizens saying, hey, this is the plan that we have, we're trying to move forward this way. What are your suggestions? How can we help? And putting the youth forward, helping them to understand, because if the youth understand, then they can help the larger generation to understand, the larger nation to understand, I should say. And also communication is key, and accountability. I want to thank you guys for coming again. Ashley, Saeed, Jovan, Daniel, and Javonte. And until next time, guys, what good.